Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host of this show. We've got Jenna Harner on today. We're going to talk about this Steelers pass rush and how it's going to get a little bit more complicated, or at least it should. We got Terell Austin, Steelers defensive coordinator, explaining a little bit about that, answering some of my questions. That we'll talk about that with Jenna and how that could play into attacking the Commanders and the Steelers' future opponents that feature a lot of talented quarterbacks down the rest of the way in their schedule. All that and more here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show in your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. As I said before, we're joined by the woman herself, Jenna Harner. She's back on the show. Jenna, always great to have you here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. How you been?
It is always great to be here. I'm great. I hope you, as well as all the viewers and listeners, had a wonderful little bye week. And hey, now we're back into Steelers football Sundays and Thursdays and all of those things. So second half of the season is coming ahead, and I don't know about you, but I am stoked.
Absolutely. I think Steelers fans should be stoked. A 6-2 start atop your division. You are in the driver's seat to control the rest of your season. And one thing that the Steelers are doing to try to ramp things up that I thought was really interesting, Mike Tomlin kind of alluded to it in his Tuesday press conference, and then they added Preston Smith, and it was that they want to get more specific or more complex in how they rush the quarterback, because that is going to be something that they, and listen, the Steelers were good at rushing the quarterback in the first half of the season. It wasn't like they failed in that department, but they weren't among the NFL's best. They were a team that got it done occasionally and when they needed to. But when this defense has been elite, it's been because that pass rush is top of the line, and that's where the Steelers just haven't been able to be there yet, while they're still winning other ways. And in fact, right now they have 19 sacks on the season. That is way back from the Giants, who lead at 35. Now, granted, Giants defense ain't exactly great itself, but if the Steelers can increase that production, that could be a big factor to them winning a lot. I want to play a clip from Teryl Austin answering a few of our questions. You'll hear a question from Alan Saunders first, but then a couple questions from me. Listen to how he talked about with what they might be trying to do with this Steelers pass rush with Highsmith, Watt, Herbig, and now Preston Smith.
When you talk about the depth at edge rusher, how important is that in this game because of his playing style and how much more taxing is chasing him around the pocket for 3 or 4 seconds compared to a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's going to get rid of it very quickly?
Yeah, it is. It's very taxing because in addition to him running, you have all him running around the pocket. Their run game is really good. Guys, and we're going to be chasing running backs. We're going to be chasing receivers. They're chasing him, and it does. It taxes you. It works the big guys. We're going to have to do a good job with our rotation and trying to keep guys fresh as best we can. And then really the most important thing, though, is getting him on the ground.
Building off that, Mike talked on Tuesday about the impact of missing Alex and missing Nick for extended time in the early part of the season and how that impacted you guys' pass rush plan. With now them being healthy and the addition of Preston, how does that maybe open up your options as a defensive coordinator to maybe mix things up more in how you guys rush the passer versus what you guys have shown so far?
Yeah, I think we're going to, in terms of how we rush the passer, we're going to rush. We have a certain style. We know we're going to get after the quarterback, and those guys are going to rush. We're not going to change it. I think what it does is getting those guys back. It gives us, really 2 healthy groups to go in there and rush the passer. When you start losing guys, and TJ is really your only, guy that is a big resume as a rusher, then that affects it. But when you have other guys opposite of him, then I think that helps us go. I don't think it'll change how we rush. It'll change us, the fact that we'll have more depth and be able to rush probably more quality depth and being able to rush better with others in.
Against the Giants, when you guys, there were a few plays where you guys flipped Alex and TJ, which is something you guys didn't typically do, and you guys got that one-on-one where TJ got the sack fumble. Does this also help with maybe being able to flip guys more often and maybe put guys in positions that you guys hadn't maybe done as much?
I think so. I think, and I probably stood up in front of you guys that week and said, hey, whatever we got to do, we have to do things to try to help our rush and do that. And we'll uncover every stone and try to do everything that we can in our power to help free up TJ because he's an elite rusher. And so that was just part of the plan that week. And moving forward, if we need to do it again or whatever it takes for us is what we'll have to do. So again, I can't tell you what exactly we're going to do, but I can tell you we're going to try to do what's in the best interest of our players.
So, of course, Jenna, Teryl Austin, Steelers defensive coordinator, not revealing everything, but I do think he's saying, hey, these are guys that can bring extra tools to the equation. These are things that when you don't have guys like that available to you, it does allow you to open up a little bit more of what you can do. And we saw their willingness in the Giants game to flip TJ and Alex. And he says, hey, we're going to do whatever we can to get TJ more shots because at the end of the day, he's the ace. He's the guy that they are trying to design to win the most. But these are all guys that are talented and you can design things to win for him and for them as well.
And how lucky are the Steelers right now? Because it almost feels like it's kind of a position of luxury. And when I was talking with Jerome Bettis earlier this week, when we do our weekly Jerome Bettis show, he was saying, these guys come at a premium. He loved the addition of Preston Smith. And it's because you now have basically two waves of very talented guys. Almost, I don't even want to say A team and B team, because of course, I think TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are in a class of their own. TJ Watt, of course, the Batman, quote unquote, to Alex Highsmith's Robin. But the reality is you can have two good waves. You're going to get good production out of any combination of these four guys. And granted, I think it's going to be very situational. I think Preston Smith is going to be a little more of the kind of the run stuffer guy, where Nick Herbig might come and be a little bit more utilized in other situations. But I just, this to me, one, it was such a great move. And I know we've talked a lot about that, but this is something that the Steelers are going to need this too, going down the stretch in just terms of thinking of the running backs they're going to be facing. This is a team that has yet to face the Ravens and Derrick Henry twice. This is a team that still has to face Saquon Barkley. Like, they're going to need depth here. And I think that this is going to be so perfect to how they want to scheme things up and what they want to do. Because when you were mentioning those sack numbers earlier, it's super interesting. When you just are Googling things, you think, of course, TJ Watt is at the top of the league. He's such a game wrecker. His sack numbers aren't. He's still, this does not take away from TJ Watt in any way, shape, or form. He's the playmaker, of course, and arguably should win Defensive Player of the Year. But just he's causing splash in so many more different ways versus just the sacks themselves. And I think that this is going to be something that this defense is going to really lean on over this stretch here. And they're going to need to utilize all these guys in different ways. And again, too, health. You want to sit here and hope and pray that all four of these guys remain healthy. But if there are any sort of injuries, or if Nick Herbig retweaks his hamstring injury, anything along those lines, you have very solid, capable guys in there who are going to be able to make really solid, consistent plays. And it's going to open up this defense to be able to do more of what they want and kind of send, again, waves of pass rush at these really talented quarterbacks that they're going to be facing. And again, as we've been talking about, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows, the Jalen Hurtses, the Patrick Mahomes of the world that they're going to face 4 of the next 8 games.
No, I agree.
More, actually, and just kidding.
No, yeah, you're fine. But the point is that they are going to face these offenses, and they need to be able to confuse these quarterbacks more, get them to make mistakes. And mistakes aren't just throwing the ball to to make a Fitzpatrick or getting the interception. Mistakes are like Daniel Jones made when he didn't check the protection on the play where TJ Watt sacked him, because and Denzel, we showed last week, Denzel Martin, Steelers outside linebackers coach, said, hey, we got them because he forgot to check, hey, the protection, we got to slide over here because TJ's on the opposite, is back on this side on this time. And then that allowed TJ Watt to get on one-on-one with an offensive tackle. He got through, sacked the quarterback, forced the fumble, recovered the fumble, game-changing play. And if you can manufacture more of those moments, that's going to help you. And again, that's Daniel Jones, a veteran quarterback, not a good veteran quarterback, but a veteran quarterback. And now you're going to be doing it against a guy like Jayden Daniels, who's a rookie quarterback who is playing fast, playing well. But now you're going to challenge him. Hey, Rook, young guy, not only do you have to figure out what the secondary is doing, not only do you have to be prepared, but now these are moving pieces on the defensive front. You're going to have to account for that. And that the more things you force opponents to think about, the more chances you give for them to slip up in that thought process and open up a window of opportunity for you as a defense to capitalize.
And exactly, that's what we saw when they were moving Highsmith and Watt around. As you had pointed out, this was arguably, I think that 2 weeks ago was against the Giants was the first time we saw them do that all season.
Yes.
So it's just more weapons in their toolbox, as Mike Tomlin would say. But it's ways that they can get to these opposing quarterbacks, that they can, make them do all of those things. Because I think when you look to at recent rookie quarterbacks, they've had success against the Steelers. And I don't know defensively if we've seen all of them, I guess, moving parts, if you want to call them, the way that we've seen them with this defense this season, and with how they're going to look to kind of utilize all of the pass rushers that they have available too, and just make, we do always talk about rookie quarterbacks against the Steelers, but your defense has to be able to be kind of taking that next step in the way that they confuse them. And I think that these moves and what we're seeing, or what we're going to see over the next couple of days here, and where I guess today in practice, and how they prepare for the Commanders, I think that's going to be very interesting, and just how Jayden Daniels is going to have to potentially think that almost two steps ahead in that type of way. Just, hey, what is the secondary doing, like you said, but also what are the guys up front doing? Oh, is TJ Watt going against, who is he facing? Are we making sure that they have someone sliding over to double him, chip him, however they're going to try to limit TJ Watt and what he does?
I agreed entirely. We got a lot more to break down on this game. We'll get to that in a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Jenna Harner, don't go anywhere. But first, we're going to talk about these Week 10 NFL picks, going through all the picks throughout the weekend, giving you our thoughts on those. Stick around for that and our closer look at Steelers Commanders just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, remind you, this show is also brought to you by Arena Club. For most of us all that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on big value collector item cards like rookie cards of Patrick Mahomes, TJ Watt, Justin Herbert, that just isn't in the cards. I love collecting, but that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of the retail price. Every card that I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent, with a full grade rationale provided and an explanation of how your card was scored. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL, code LockedOnNFL for 10% off your first purchase. We're also brought to you by Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. Just answer a series of questions on their site. A medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Jenna Harner of Channel 11 WPXI. Jenna, let's get right into the picks. We are going to do a quick rundown here because we got to move fast. But real quick rundown of the Locked On Steelers Pick'em League on ESPN, which you can join by searching Locked On Steelers Pick'em on the ESPN's Pick'em League. Right now, I sit at 90-47. I believe you have 87 correct picks. You're just 3 games behind me. It's really close. In first place of the whole league is – what'd you say?
I'm 2 behind. I have 88.
You have 88. Oh, I can't count. Never mind. She's 2 behind me. Okay, we got to cut that out. I got to create some space. I like personal space. We're gonna be having that. But number one, shout out to the current number one. Someone stepped ahead of the entire pack, which was tied all in number one last year. ESPN 542 and a lot of other numbers picks one. They have 98 wins. They're in first place, whoever you are with that name. Let's get into the rest of the picks here. As always, all the odds, ends, and lines come from FanDuel Sportsbook, the number one sportsbook in America. We're gonna move fast through these picks, Jenna. Giants at Panthers. Your New York Football Giants. They're playing the Panthers. I'm picking the Giants. You got to be able to pick your boys this week.
I'm going the Giants. They're in Germany. Anything can happen, but I think that their run game is really what's going to get it done. Carolina has one of the worst run defenses in the league, and Mike Tomlin gave a nod to the Giants' run offense. I think it's going to continue in Germany. So, hey, let's have some, what is it, having beer at 9 a.m, something like that? That's how this works.
Hey, is that a problem? Patriots and Bears. Bears are 6.5-point favorites, much like the Giants are, but the Bears are at home. I'm taking the Bears. They got slaughtered last week. I think they'll bounce back this week.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bears in a bounce back game too. I think the Patriots have showed signs of life. There's been some good from Drake May and then obviously some not so great. And that's what you get with a rookie. The Patriots are in a rebuild. Everybody knows that. So I like the Bears here to kind of get a little bit back on track.
Bills, 3.5-point favorites on the road facing the Colts. I'm taking the Bills. The Colts have done a good job to stay afloat, but the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL, I think, right now.
Yeah, this one was so interesting to me in the way that Joe Flacco is played, but I just think the Bills are a better team slightly, and they're finding ways to win games. And when your kicker, who had not been kicking well all season, drills a 61-yarder, there's a lot of confidence in that group. So I like Buffalo. This one's close, though.
Moving right along here. We got Vikings at Jaguars. Vikings 7-point favorites on the road in Jacksonville. I'm taking the Vikings, though. I think they've got their groove back. I was a little worried when they're on their losing streak, but now they're back in it, and the Jaguars are just a bad team. Give me Minnesota.
Yeah, and isn't Trevor Lawrence? I think it's the Mac Jones experience in this game. I believe potentially, check me on that, for the Jags. So I would have picked the Vikings anyway, but now I'm really doubling down and going with Minnesota.
Moving right along, Broncos at Chiefs. Chiefs 7.5-point favorites at home. Hey, Russell Wilson gave him problems last year. Can Bo Nix? I don't think they will. Chiefs are going to stay undefeated. They'll even cover the spread.
Yep, Chiefs have not lost a game yet, so I can't pick against them, but I'm going with Kansas City until they prove me wrong.
Falcons at Saints. Saints just fired their head coach, which is never a great sign. They traded away Marshawn Lattimore. Give me the Falcons, who are 3.5-point favorites on the road over the Saints. I think they'll win by more than that.
I completely agree. I was going to say, it feels like that spread should be a little bit bigger. Trouble a little bit with Derek Carr and his receivers. So I really like Atlanta on this one. They're playing some solid football.
Niners at Buccaneers. Niners are 6.5-point favorites. Looks like Christian McCaffrey's back, so maybe they're going to have their mojo back, and they are 6.5-point favorites. But, Jenna, I got to go against the grain sometimes. I'm picking my upset special of the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with absolutely no wide receivers, are coming to upset the Niners at home. Give me Tampa Bay in a big upset.
I'm going, this is going to be a letdown game for the Bucs for me. I think that they put their heart and soul on the line. And when you have Cade Otton as kind of your one offensive threat, I thought they played phenomenally against the Chiefs on Monday night, and also too just Baker's face with that coin toss where he just kind of knew, he was like, all right, we lost. This is fun. Yep, it's over. It's all right. Yeah, I like the Niners in this one. They haven't played their best football yet, which is a little bit scary, but I think this is kind of the getting back on the right track page that they need here.
Titans at Chargers. Chargers 7.5-point favorites. Give me Los Angeles. The Titans are cooked. The Chargers are cooking.
Yeah, this one feels easy. I think these are two teams in completely different directions. Titans are trending downward. The Chargers trending up.
Jets at Cardinals. Jets 1.5-point road favorites here, but give me Arizona. I was impressed by how they played last time. I think that the Jets going on the West Coast could be a problem. Give me Kyler Murray over Aaron Rodgers here.
Yeah, I after the Jets Thursday night win over the Texans, ESPN was basically treating the Jets like they were a 6-3 team and not 3-6, and there was a lot of confusion. And I'm like, do you know their record? They're putting things together. I just think the Cardinals have more put together, so I like Arizona here a lot more than I like the Jets. Big time rivalry game: Eagles at Cowboys. Eagles 7-point favorites. I think they're going to win by more than that. The Cowboys are just way too hurt up. I don't care that this is a rivalry game. Yeah, and if Dak was playing, I think I would probably feel a little bit differently and think this might be closer of a game. But you have a backup quarterback, and the Eagles are riding high off Saquon's just beyond unbelievably impressive backwards hurdle. I don't know if we'll see another one of those again, but I think we will see another Eagles win.
Lions at Texans, my game of the week here. 3.5-point favorites for the Lions on the road in Houston. Houston's looked a little bit more fallible this year. The Lions have been very strong. Give me Detroit winning this one.
Yeah, Jared Goff, there's some disgusting stat. Like he has in his last however many games, 28 touchdowns and 26 incompletions. That offense is firing on all cylinders. That defense added to it at the trade deadline to make up for the absence of Aiden Hutchinson. I love the Lions. Give me Detroit.
Last one, Monday Night Football, Dolphins at Rams. Rams just 1.5-point favorites against the Dolphins. I know that they're getting their guys back and healthy and everything, but the Rams are 4-4. They're bouncing back. The Dolphins are 2-6. Give me LA at home winning this one.
Yeah, this one's super interesting because this feels like kind of Miami if they want any chance to come back into any sort of relevance. This feels like a game they should win. I just don't think they're going to because I like what the Rams have put together over the last couple of weeks. As long as Puka Nacua doesn't punch anybody and get ejected again, I think this will be a solid win for the Rams.
All right, we talked all about that. It's time to talk Steelers Commanders next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, I want to remind you, this show is also brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We're also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the number one sportsbook in America. And today we got some new numbers on the Steelers. I said all week long they were moving a little bit of the Commanders. That's moved a little bit back now. They started the week at 2.5 points favorites as the Commanders at home. It moved up to 3 points. It's back to 2.5 points. So something happened there that FanDuel saw a little bit more inkling going towards the Steelers' way, as the Steelers are now just back to being 2.5-point favorites. The money line plus 124 for the Steelers, minus 146 for the Commanders. The over-under set at 45.5. Get all those odds, ends, and lines, and so much more at FanDuelSportsbooks.com. And today, if you're a new customer, you can get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet of $5 or more today. That's $150 in free bets to new customers if you hit on just a $5 bet or more. Only on FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Jenna Harner. Jenna, let's get right into this game. The Steelers, like I said, 2.5-point dogs in this one on the road. This, I think, is going to be a very close matchup. I think these are two teams that have hit their stride well. And looking at how they've played, the Steelers 6-2, the Commanders 7-2. But I have a thought here, Jenna. When you look at the Commanders' wins, they're against all these teams that have struggled or not been good this year. They've beaten the Giants, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Panthers, the Bears, the Giants. They've swept the Giants. They've beaten the Bengals team, and the Bengals can be good. We know they can be. We know their defense is terrible. The Browns have been terrible. I think the Cardinals might be their best win so far when I look at their schedule. And to me, not that the Steelers have beaten juggernauts, but to me, I think the Steelers are a little bit more proven of a team that can handle their situation. If the Steelers come up with a good defensive game plan, they can disrupt the rhythm that the Commanders have found early.
I like that a lot because it is really interesting just to kind of look at how the games have fallen for the Commanders here. I went so back and forth on this game because I do feel like this is going to not only be a very close game, but this is going to be that first, if you want to say, true test for the Steelers, just in terms of kind of the competition that we're seeing. Hey, this is a 6-2 Steelers team. Are they going to be closer to a top of the AFC competing with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens of those teams, or are they going to be a little bit more that second tier team? And I think this game will be a very good caliber and kind of measuring stick, I guess, if you will, against that, because there's no denying the phenomenal football that Jayden Daniels is playing. There's no denying the way he's finding Terry McLaurin, that they're kind of utilizing all the weapons that they have offensively, and they're playing some decent defense too. So this kind of feels like it's going to be it's going to be a very interesting game no matter what, but it feels like it's going to be kind of one of those close games, comes down to the wire, and might just end up being kind of whichever team has the ball last is going to win this game.
All right. That being said, Jenna, give us give us how you see this game playing out, your X factor, your big moment, your turning point moment, and your final score prediction.
Well, Steelers fans, don't get mad at me. Although maybe I guess they're gonna like this. I don't know, because there's different. I don't know what our records are, and someone I'm sure will tell us. But when you and I pick the same versus pick differently, and I'm picking against the Steelers this week. I'm picking the Commanders. I know. I said this on the Jerome Bettis show. I'm like, I want to be wrong. If I'm wrong, that's a good thing. So I want to be wrong here. I kind of see this basically being a little bit of a heavyweight fight, kind of back and forth, both teams trading some blows. You're going to see some really solid offense. You're going to see Mike Williams ideally get involved. You're going to see kind of a couple deep shots to him, I'm sure, open things up more offensively. I think we're going to see a really solid game from Najee Harris on the ground, but I think the Commanders are going to find answers. And I have some questions about the Steelers' run defense. And until they can show in this matchup specifically that they've shored things up. And again, part of it was the Giants looked really good. And Mike Tomlin gave credit to the Giants just being a solid running team, but there were definitely points in that game where the Steelers should have had stops. So I think the Commanders win this one 27-23. I kind of think the turning point is going to be late in the game when it's either a one-score game. If the Steelers get the ball back, they have a chance to win type thing. Jayden Daniels is going to use his legs on like a 3rd and 6 plus 3rd and long situation to get that first down, keep the clock moving, and keep the ball away from the Steelers, keeping the Commanders ahead. It's going to be close. It really is going to be close. But I think just his mobility is such a weapon that so many guys that we've talked to in the locker room all week have talked about. And Alina Roberts telling me, hey, we really just kind of have to stay within what we do as a defense. But if there's going to be a little bit of desperation there to kind of make a play at the end to get the ball back to your offense, I think that maybe could be where the Steelers falter. But I think this is a close game. I think there's still going to be a lot of good things from the Steelers. And again, hey, I hope I'm wrong. I really want to be wrong. So I think the Commanders win though.
I look at this game and I agree that it's going to be close. I agree that there's going to be back and forth. There's going to be big plays on both sides. But one thing I look at too is I look at how both teams can play overall. And one thing that I think that the Commanders have is a strong run game, but the Steelers have a strong run defense. And I think that after 2 weeks ago, they've had time to short things up. Guys are healthier. They've added there. I think they'll be able to do that. But the one thing the Steelers also have on the flip side, they have a strong rushing offense, but the Commanders have one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. This to me is the key for the Steelers. They got to get the run game going. Once they get that going, they can put this offense in the high gear with some play action passes, get down the field faster, finish more drives this week, and that could be a big factor. My turning point is going to be a big play action pass in this game where I think Russell Wilson either hits Pickens or Calvin Austin or Mike Williams deep down the field. They take off for like a 50-yard touchdown, and that breaks things open in the third quarter, allowing the Steelers to kind of lean more and more on the Commanders, forcing, hey, we're going to run the ball. Jayden Daniels better make a play soon, and then that leads to an eventual turnover. I think the Steelers win. It's going to be close, but it's going to be 30-24 Steelers in Washington, advance the team to 7-2. Jenna, as always, thank you so much for joining us here. Let people know they can find you, follow you, get more of your work.
Well, thank you for having me. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Jenna Harner 11, Instagram Jenna_Harner, and locally here on WPXI Channel 11 in Pittsburgh, either in the Pittsburgh television market or on our online stream. Join Chris Carter and I Friday night for some Skylights playoffs, high school football playoffs, WPIAL playoffs. There's some really fun matchups coming this week, so definitely join us Friday night, 11:20-ish for those.
All right,
later tonight.
Yeah. Join us tonight on Skylight. She's Jenna Harner. I'm Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see you here Sunday evening after the Steelers game against the Commanders right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.